All right, let's set the scene. It's May 11th, 1945. We're on the island of Luzon in the Philippines, near a place called Dingalan Bay. The war in the Pacific, it's in its final brutal stages. But for one American soldier, Private John McKinney, his own personal war is about to kick off. And the whole thing is going to last just 36 minutes.
So inside his tent, McKinney is dead asleep. His M1 rifle is right there beside him. He's just come off a long shift on a machine gun. It's pitch black, that kind of pre-dawn darkness. Suddenly, the tent flap is ripped open. A figure is just standing there over him. It's Sergeant Fukutara Mori of the Imperial Japanese Army. And his sword, it's already raised. The next thing you know, it's coming straight down.
And this is where things get, well, crazy. Sergeant Mori was going for the neck. A clean, killing blow. But it's dark, right? He misjudges. The blade just slices through the side of McKinney's head, taking off part of his right ear. He's instantly awake, just searing pain. And Mori's already raising that sword for the final strike. McKinney has, less than a second to do something.
There's no time to think, no time to aim. He just reacts. His hand grabs his M1 rifle, and he swings it like a club, like a baseball bat. The stock smashes into Mori's chin, completely shattering it. As the sergeant stumbles back, McKinney swings again, a brutal, crushing blow to the skull. And just like that, in the first few seconds of this whole thing, pure, raw survival instinct just saved his life.
The hunter from Georgia. Before the battle, there was the boy. So you've got to be asking, right? Who is this guy? Who reacts like that? To really get what happens next, you have to understand where John McKinney came from. Because this wasn't just some random soldier. This was a man whose entire life, it seems, was training for this one single moment.
Well, John McKinney grew up as a sharecropper's son in Georgia. He only had a third-grade education. Get this, he learned how to shoot before he even knew how to read. For his family, hunting wasn't some weekend hobby. It was survival. It was literally about putting food on the table. And that upbringing, it turned him into one of the most incredible marksmen the Army had ever seen. A guy who could move through the woods with this quiet, deadly awareness, like a predator.
1 man against 100. The battle for the perimeter begins. Okay, so flash forward back to the chaos. McKinney, blood pouring from his ear, steps out of his tent. And what he sees is, well, it's not just one guy anymore. He has walked straight into a full-blown assault. We're talking nearly 100 Japanese soldiers swarming the American lines.
And his eyes, they just lock on to the most important spot on the field, the machine gun pit he was just in. That pit is the key to holding the entire line, and it's being overrun. He sees 10 enemy soldiers taking it over. And what does he do? Without even a second thought, he just sprints straight at them.
What happens in the next 30 seconds is, it's almost impossible to believe. He takes down 4 guys on his way there. Then he leaps into the pit and kills 3 more, point-blank range. And then you hear it, that classic metallic ping of an empty M1 clip. But before that clip even hits the dirt, he's already flipped the rifle around, using it as a club, and he just brutally takes out the last 3 soldiers in the most savage hand-to-hand combat you can imagine.
So he's done it. He has single-handedly taken back the most important defensive spot on the line. But then his heart must have just sunk. He grabs the machine gun and realizes it's busted, damaged in the fight. It's completely useless. And as the sun starts to come up, he looks out and sees the real Japanese force gathering at the edge of the jungle. Yeah, the main assault? It hadn't even begun.
So the next half hour or so is just a blur of violence and sheer tactical genius. First, he retakes that machine gun pit. Then, he's holding off a second wave with just his rifle. For the next 15-20 minutes, he's constantly moving, confusing the enemy. And when he runs out of ammo, it turns into brutal hand-to-hand combat. Then, after 36 minutes, silence.
See, McKinney wasn't just fighting like a soldier. He was fighting like a hunter. He was using all those lessons from the woods back in Georgia right there on the battlefield. He kept moving, using craters for cover, never staying in one spot. He'd fire from different angles, making the Japanese think they were up against a whole squad of riflemen, not just one guy. He made it impossible for them to pin him down.
The impossible tally. When the guns fell silent, the counting began. So after those 36 minutes of just nonstop battle, this eerie quiet falls over the field. And that's when American reinforcements finally punch through to his position. And what they walk into is just a scene of absolute carnage, something that just doesn't make any sense.
The platoon sergeant, he tells his men to do a body count. And the number they come back with is so huge, so staggering, that he literally refuses to believe them. He tells them, "No way, go count again." The final confirmed number? 40. 40 enemy soldiers, all taken down by this one man in a little more than 30 minutes.
And this quote from his platoon sergeant, man, it just says it all. No single soldier could kill 40 men in 36 minutes. It was impossible. I mean, what he did was so far beyond anything they'd ever seen in combat, it just didn't seem real. The disbelief was so intense that division headquarters actually launched a full official investigation just to see if the reports could possibly be true.
A hero's quiet life. The war ends, but the battle continues. So, that investigation? It confirmed every single unbelievable detail of his story. And once his account was verified, a recommendation was shot straight up the chain of command for the nation's highest honor.
Now, the Medal of Honor, this isn't something they just hand out. It's for gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. And what McKinney did, it was the literal definition of that phrase. So on January 23, 1946, it was President Harry S. Truman himself who placed that medal around his neck.
But here's where the story gets really complicated. You have the hero, right? The public saw him as the Pacific's Audie Murphy, this legendary figure who single-handedly defeated almost 100 soldiers. But then there was the man, the guy who went back home to Georgia. He was just a quiet farmer, a hunter who was plagued by nightmares. He almost never talked about what happened. And that Medal of Honor? He kept it tucked away in a drawer.
John McKinney passed away in 1997 at the age of 76. And for a long time, his story was kind of forgotten, you know? It wasn't until a book called Phantom Warrior came out in 2007 that people really learned about it. Eventually, his home county renamed a stretch of highway in his honor, a quiet tribute to a quiet man whose actions spoke louder than any words ever could.
So when you boil it all down, what do we have? McKinney's 36 minutes of just impossible courage. It saved his entire company and carved his name into history. But you have to remember, he carried the weight of those 36 minutes for the rest of his life. And that really leaves us with one final heavy question to think about. What is the true cost of being a hero?